YouTube, back at it again with another video. So hope everyone's been doing all right, you know, just enjoying themselves, enjoying their life and everything. But I want to talk about being a chosen one. You're held to a higher standard, not just by people, but kind of by because you're anointed by God, and like ever since birth. You can't really, you're not supposed to do anything that's even close to like wicked or anything wrong at all. You're supposed to be you're supposed to be pure in a way. Let me explain. I bet you if you're truly like chosen, I bet you, say you remember maybe in like when you were in high school or middle school or whatever, you get on your phone because, you know, in school you're not really supposed to use your phone when the teacher's talking. But I remember this happened to me. This was the weirdest thing ever. So it was math class, right? And we were doing like the assignment or whatever, and the teacher was chilling on the desk, and I was on my phone, right? Instead of working on the assignment, I was on my phone because like I didn't want to do that assignment. But everyone else was on their phone, right? Like I bet you like 70% of the class was on their phone, like texting or whatever they were doing. But I was on my phone. But this is what happened. This was the weirdest thing ever. So the teacher just tells me, she goes, hey, you need to get off your phone and work on the assignment. And I'm like, don't you see everyone else on their phones too? Why do you just choose me? Why do you just tell me not to do that? And she didn't even explain why. She was just like, if I remember correctly, she was like, I see that, but I was like, you need to get off your phone. And I'm like, why are you just targeting me for it? Why am I the one doing wrong when everyone else is doing the same? And keep in mind, it's not like my grades are even bad. I think I had a B- in that class or something. So I wasn't like the bad student or whatever they call it. And it was just the weirdest thing ever. But now when I look back on it, this makes sense. Because whenever you're chosen, you have a big presence. You have like this, it's weird, like you get noticed easily. Like if you do anything wrong or that you're not supposed to do, people will notice it in a second. And like it's like you can't hide it when you do wrong. It's like impossible to hide it. And now that I remember, I'm like, this makes so much sense, because I'm like, why am I being targeted? And it's happened a lot during school. Like if I'm the one talking and the whole class is talking, I'll be the one that was told to stop talking or whatever, or like, you know, to be quiet for the class. And I'm just like, why are you just choosing? Why are you picking me? But when I look back on it now, it makes sense, because if you're chosen, you're held to a higher standard, not just by, it's like there's something about you. Since you have the Spirit of God in you ever since birth, you're held to a higher standard no matter what you do. You're supposed to be like, how do I explain this? You're supposed to be at the highest morality, basically the highest. You're supposed to always be like correct and do things correctly and everything. So, because like when I was younger, I was like, that's so unfair. I was like, why do you just pick me? Why don't you say everyone else is on their phone? You just look at them as like they're allowed to do that, but I'm not allowed to do it. But that, being a chosen one, that's how your whole life works. They're allowed to do that. You're not allowed to do that. So when I look back on that, I'm like, why was that so weird? Why was I always, you know, like targeted in a way? Why was I always noticed? Like if I did anything wrong, it was like the worst thing ever. They'd be like, oh, you're not supposed to be doing that. It's like, why do you guys look at me as such a, like, I mean, I'm glad you guys look at me so like highly or whatever, but like, I'm like, why is this so unfair? Like these people do all this stuff and get away with it. But if as a chosen one, you're not getting away with doing anything wrong. Do no wrong, you'll never get away from it. You'll never get away from it. So this makes sense, but it's nothing to worry about. Since you're chosen by the Most High, you're at the standards of the Most High. So you're not supposed to be wicked. You're not supposed to be, you know, a sinner. You're not supposed to be, I mean, everybody's a sinner. I've sinned. I bet you whoever's watching has sinned. But when you're a chosen one, it's not, speaking of sin, you're not, as a chosen one, you don't practice sin ever. You'll struggle with sin, but you don't practice it. You don't ever practice sin. It's like you struggle with it. It's kind of like you're dealing with some stuff, and like maybe you're this and that, or maybe like you're trying to fit in a way, and like the chosen one, don't fit in. You're just gonna kill yourself spiritually. Don't fit in. You don't fit in. You'll never fit in. You're not made to fit in the world. You're not of this world. You're just in this world. So when I think about it, this makes sense. I'm sure if anyone's watching this video, I'm sure you've had something like this happen where everybody's doing something like wrong, getting away with it, then you do it one time and then you don't get away with it. But that's because you have God watching you at all times, and he's kind of disciplining you, because if you're chosen by God, you're his child, so he disciplines you like a parent. So you're not supposed to, you're supposed to be at the highest like moral compass and everything, which it's just how it is. But this was just fun. This was just a funny story when I think about it. I'm like, because I've had this happen so many times in school, like so many people around me, and I'll do something that's like that you're not supposed to do or whatever, and like I see everyone else doing it, but I'm the one that gets like caught with it all the time. I'm like, bro, like, don't you see everyone else? Don't you see everyone else doing the same thing? But it's just how it is. If you're chosen, that's how your life goes. You're not supposed to do anything wrong. Like if you see somebody, like some of your friends doing something that's kind of like, that's wrong, whatever that is, it could be like, selling drugs or something, or it could be just something that's morally not correct. If you even try to do that, you'll get caught. There's no way you could do it. You're supposed to be righteous. You're not supposed to do anything wrong. So God, the reason this happens is because God catches you doing it, so he disciplines you, and he disciplines you out of love. He doesn't discipline you out of, just because he hates you or whatever. Because you would think it's like, dude, I could never do anything. I'm always supposed to be this perfect, being or whatever. But no, you're just held to a higher standard. You're not supposed to do these things. You can't get away with doing things, even small things, like say if you littered or something. You littered outside or something, and you'll somehow get in trouble for that, or you might just feel like guilt for it. Or like convicted or something. So, but at the end of the day, though, this is a good thing, since you're held to such a higher standard. Your life is basically gonna be a life of quality, because since you're held to this higher standard, you're supposed to reach this higher standard of living. So, it's a good thing. But this was just a funny story, how like if you're a chosen one, you're held to a higher standard, and people could see it, because people look at you. Like, don't fool yourself. People look at you. People know that you're different and everything. That's why people like to like mess with you, or like they kind of get jealous of you, or like they try to provoke you or something. And if you ever do anything wrong, it's like they look at it like you did the worst thing ever, because like you're really not supposed to do anything wrong. You're supposed to be kind-hearted and like pure in a way. But yeah, I'm sure whoever's watching this, you'll come across this video. I bet you have a story that's similar to this, or like you did something that was kind of remotely wrong, and then like you somehow got caught for it, or just something happened where like you can't do that thing anymore. But it's actually a good thing when you think about it, because like God has the will to discipline you, because like a lot of other people could get away with doing a lot of like bad things, and they could lead themselves to a wrong path. But if a chosen one's doing that, like God's gonna like move everything around, so you could come back to being like good, come back to being correct and everything. He's gonna help you out. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was funny, but I'm gonna title this "Chosen Ones Are Held to a Higher Standard," something like that. But yeah, if you guys have any comments, I would love to hear them down below. Just comment if this has happened to you, and I'll see you guys in a few days with another video. Peace.